From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. Hey, James, great to be back with you. And we have another special episode on tap today.
Always great to be back, Steve. And I look forward to this one because it sounds like I can probably sit back and listen to the expert.
Yes, that's going to be the case. If you haven't tuned into our last episode, please do. But if our guest today doesn't need much of an introduction, he's somebody that we both are very appreciative to and feel that we've been inspired by to do podcasting. And he's none other than Tim Albright, and he's from CTI and AV Nation. Welcome back, Tim.
You guys need to stop that. You know that my head can get too big. I'm just going to say.
We're trying.
Yeah.
We can. That's what friends are for.
I know. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being here. It was a great conversation on the last episode, and we're celebrating 2 years of doing this. We're glad to have you as part of this, and it's been a lot of fun. One of the things we were hoping to talk about today, because I think it's something that may not be a part of what a programmer is used to learning about, and it's something that you focus on in your day job, is a little bit of marketing. How do we promote ourselves? How do we do this marketing thing and show the value of programmers and programming? So I know that that's not an easy one-word answer, but
It's
that's
not.
what we wanted to talk about.
So that's yeah. Oh man. So there was a couple things, right? The grand scheme of marketing, and my advisor in grad school would tell you to start with your goal in mind. Like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to get? You know, who are you trying to reach, right? Who is your target audience? Who's your persona? And I'll give it even more simpler than that. Who is your best customer, right? And you know, from and programming in general, and marketing programming in general, and you guys can kind of correct this or adjust this, but there's a couple different ways, or a couple different folks here, right? You've got folks, Richard Leake here in St. Louis. He's an independent programmer. We used to call them capes. What are they called? Crestron. Steve.
CSP.
Thank you, CSPs. It's been a minute since I've had to worry about that. Where he's 100%. His customer is primarily integrators, right? Integrators who either they don't have a integrator on site, right, on staff, or they're flat out overloaded, right? Holy crap! All of their programmers are booked now until 2026. So we need programming help. Then you've got, Steve and Control Concepts, who not only do you do that, but you also work directly with manufacturers making modules, right? And so that's a different skill set. It's also a different customer base, right? So you're talking directly to customers. Both of those folks, though, or if you want to talk about marketing speak for a second, both of those are B2B, right? Those are business to business communications, and it's still personal. Right. It's still, the business is still, and sales is still personal, but the concern, the pain, the ask is different than talking directly to a consumer. The consumer, you can get all emotional, and you can run an iPhone ad with dancing shadows and play U2 music, and people will buy your iPhone. You can't do that in B2B, right? It tends to be a little bit more ones and zeros. It tends to be a little bit more static and concerning more about the bottom line. There's a little bit of emotion there, and you can play on it a little bit, but it really is, does this solve my problem? There are folks who would tell you that, the days of, attention and then interest and desire and then action is gone, right? AIDA is an old acronym. It's not. The very first step is attention. You have to let people know that you're out there. If you never knew that Control Concepts existed, then you never know that you need them, right? If you never knew that Ask the Programmer was out there, then you didn't know that you needed them. So you absolutely have to get attention, and you do that a couple different ways. Number one, 100% on social media, and I we can talk about which ones, right? And have that conversation in a second, but 100% social media is simply because it's the cheapest, it's easiest and fastest, right? And you can segment, you can get down into the nitty gritty of I want folks who have an IT background or an IT job title or whatever job title it is you're looking for. And then folks that are in your area, right? If you are a local, CSP or you're a local independent programmer, then that's what you want, right? Or you can say, I want to talk to folks that are in Dallas or in Beaverton, Oregon, right? Or in, Cresskill, New Jersey. And that's an old joke. So let you guys kind of look that one up. But that's what you're looking for, right? And if you're trying to talk to education folks who may or may not need programming skills or programming services, again, make yourself known. Second thing, and then I'll shut up for a second, is you be valuable, right? I am 100% a fan of content creation for marketing purposes. And the content creation that I want to produce and the content creation that I want to be known for, and that I want CTI to be known for, is if you're looking for a solution, because 99% of us are going to go to Google and we're going to search for it, I want that to be found and I want it to be valuable. I don't want some fluff piece. I want what you're looking for. If we've got it, right? I want the problem you're trying to solve. I want you to click on it and I want that to bring value to you. I want it to answer a question. I want it to further your knowledge. I want it to push you down the path, right? Yes, eventually I want to sell you something because I'm in business, right? We're in business we're in business to be in business. But before you get there, you need to understand that, number one, we know what the freak we're talking about, right? Whatever it is, right? Here we're going to talk about programming. We know how to program stuff. We can launch the freaking space shuttle, for crying out loud, right? But if you're looking to do that, I want the content that we make to be not only indicative and show off our skill, but also to give value back to you as you're researching, as you're looking to answer your own questions.
I think that's an excellent way to capture all of that. And I think one of the things that I think people can tend to struggle with is how much do you give away?
All of it.
How much knowledge do you share?
So here's a I don't know if it's a statement, I don't know if it's an edict, I don't know if it's a tenet, but it's one of the beliefs that I have held for many, many years. And this goes back 20 years when I was in broadcasting. And this is going to be a little bit hateful, and I don't mean it in a derogatory term or derogatory way. People are inherently lazy. Okay. And what I mean by that is they will want to know what you know. Okay. I will tell anybody all day how I do podcasting. Absolutely. Right. You want to know? Call me up. I don't care. Send me an email. Don't follow me on Twitter because that's my stick. But I'll tell them all day long. The vast majority of them will go, oh, that's interesting, and never do anything with it. Right. Never do anything with it. Or they'll do an episode and go, holy crap, that's a lot of work, because it is. Right. Same thing with programming. Dude, you can give away code if you want, right? Here's a simple module or whatever. But the vast majority of people who are trying to solve that problem will look at that and go, holy crap, that's a lot of work. That's why I need to hire these people, right? Because it is a lot of work, right? So yeah, give it all away, right? Give away the super secret sauce. I don't care, because when people are looking to solve a problem, one of the things that they're really trying to figure out is this problem worth solving, right? Is it worth me personally spending the time, energy, and effort to solve? Or is it worth me hiring someone to solve? And most of the time, it's worth hiring a super smart programmer, in this specific case, to solve that problem.
That actually reminds me of a sign I saw at a flea market one day, where my wife and I are walking around, and we walk by this one booth, and it's like homemade birdhouses and stuff like that. And the sign goes, "Yes, I know you can make this yourself, but will you?" So I was like, I had to give that guy props. Like, yeah, you
Absolutely.
can do this yourself, but will
But
you?
will you? Yep.
It's really interesting because I think that because of the audience that we work with, and because I personally, I think that business requires a different part of the brain than technical.
Mhm.
Sometimes that making the connection just the way you did can be hard for some people, and not realizing that giving something away and being able to help and provide information is actually a strong selling tool. It isn't giving away something that you could potentially charge for, because
Mhm.
it's almost like the free samples type of approach.
There's a gentleman a number of years ago, and Steve and I have talked about this guy before. His name's Marcus Sheridan. And Marcus wrote a book called They Ask You Answer. And really briefly, here's Marcus's story. The housing crisis of 2008. He owned part of it and was helping run an in-ground pool company, right? So think big, ginormous fiberglass pools. You dug a hole and you dropped it in, right? Not exactly something that people who were losing their houses were going to buy. And they were like, I don't know, 2 weeks, a month away from bankruptcy and insolvency. And Marcus is like, well, screw it, I got nothing else to lose. And so he starts writing blogs on the top 3 things you need to know when you're buying a pool. This is how you do a pool. This is a concrete pool versus a fiberglass pool. And giving away all of the secrets, right? Anything that if you thought that you needed to answer this question in looking up a pool, and you probably thought that you had to talk to a salesperson, but no, Marcus is saying, here it is, knock yourself out. And he learned through trial and error the power of SEO, which is search engine optimization, which is a lot of what drives content. He learned the power of that. He learned the power of answering those questions. And not only does that help drive traffic to the site, but it also helps pre-qualify and pre-disqualify a lot of clients and a lot of customers. So not only was he providing value to potential clients and customers, he was getting rid of a lot of folks who he didn't have to waste time talking to, because they were never going to buy a fiberglass pool in the first place, right? Because they discovered, I prefer an above ground, or I prefer a concrete one for whatever reason, right? So, it's a little bit of the opposite. It's a little bit of opposite think, but you give it away. You let folks kind of pre-qualify themselves, and at some point they're like, yeah, I need a programmer because I don't know how to do this stuff, or it's too hard for me.
James, I'll let you step in because I know you do a lot of sharing in the higher ed space, and it is a unique animal, but does that take away from the value of the individual in sharing?
I actually find it makes them more valuable, because if you're getting answers from that person, you're more willing to go to that person for more answers. Like if they're closed off and like holding everything to their chest, and you're really stuck on something, you're probably not going to go to that person because you don't have a relationship with them. You're not building that connection. And as I always say to people is, don't sell me something, be a partner with me. We have a problem to solve. Let's solve this problem. And then if it's buying your product, there we go.
Yep.
If it's not, at least I know I can leverage you to solve a problem if I need to down the future. And I've actually still use these contacts. Just yesterday, I was on a call with a fellow higher ed folk who was having a problem in one of their spaces. And they were telling me like, oh, we looked at this, we looked at that, blah, blah, blah. We worked with this one company. They have not been the best. I'm like, that's surprising. When I worked with that company, they were great. This is who I worked with. So I actually gave them contact of that person. I'm like, I don't even buy any products from that company anymore, but I still know that they can solve their problem, or if not, point them to someone who can.
Well, and actually kind of goes back to our last conversation about being authentic, right? is you can become known by your content, by the blogs, by the podcast, however it was you want to market, but you get to be known, and the customers, potential customers, can decide, do you have the same values that they do, right? Do you have the same needs? Do you have the same interests? Is it somebody that they want to do business with? Because sales and business really does come down to personal connections. And, just because you might be a great programmer, but you might not fit our culture, you might not fit our campus. And that's good to know too, because again, then you can self-qualify or self-disqualify before you ever pick up that phone.
So it's interesting how we're talking about that a lot, because I think that there's a lot of time spent in trying to maybe determine if something's a good fit. So if you can get that time out of the way, you're actually gaining time and gaining bandwidth.
Yeah.
What are the things, Tim, and I want to see if you could talk about a little bit as we wrap up, is we've talked about programmers trying to create an identity. Some of them are not business people. Some of them are just programmers that are part of a team, an organization. And how do they help to gain more visibility for what they do? Like, and I guess thinking about it from a marketing perspective, how do they demonstrate their value or bring to light their importance?
So a couple of things is, social media is really, really great for stuff like that, right? I would also say, finding the time to write in general, or podcasts, or another good avenue for that, YouTube or some sort of video content is as well. But everybody has a perspective, right? And everybody has an opinion. They may not think that they do, but they do, right? Whether you've done this for 2 years or 20 years, you have a perspective, and you're able to bring light and bring that perspective to something that somebody's dealing with. Mike Crutchy here inside CTI is become a dear friend, and I learn stuff from him constantly. I am no longer a programmer, do not misunderstand, right? But watching him navigate some of the new languages, right? And navigate things like QSIS and Lua, right? And he would be able to say, hey, look, this is why QSIS is a valuable platform for control. If you are looking for a new avenue, or you've never gotten into control, here's another way to do it. Another one is looking at whether that's Python and Extron, or C# and Crestron, or whichever version you want, but getting it out there and giving people your perspective on why X, Y, and Z is good, why X, Y, and Z is bad, from your opinion, right? You're not saying that your word is the final word on whatever. You're just giving someone, your perspective and your years of experience, and then they're able to take that and make a more educated decision because of your experience.
I think
like
that's
that a lot.
Yeah, good point. And I think that's a key point, is you're allowing your consumer of your content to make an educated guess.
Yep.
You're not telling them, I am the source of truth, this is the only way of doing things. Here is one way. This is what I feel. This is how I see it. And they digest it and they put it with their own experience.
And I think I was just going to say that, putting in my experience helps to cut down on anybody who could argue, because they can't argue with your experience.
No.
Some people will try.
Absolutely. Typically it's my kids, but hey, it's a different conversation.
I mean, honestly, I think, and this is, just speaks to why we do what we do, is not enough people are willing to go out and put themselves out there and share the things that they think. And I think I really liked what you said about everybody has a perspective and an opinion, and whether they like it or not, or whether they think it's unique. So
everybody does. Yeah, absolutely.
In the same way, everyone has a voice and they all matter.
Yep.
I think another way of good place for us to wrap up, and I think another reason why we do podcasts and we have these types of opportunities to just speak our mind and share our perspective. And this has been really great. Thank you again, Tim, for being
Absolutely.
here, and hope we'll have you on again in the future. And also thank you for all you've been doing for us. How can
Anytime,
people
sir.
get in touch with you and learn more about CTI, Aviation, and everything else that you're up to?
Yep. So my day job is I run the great marketing team at CTI. So for that, you can go to cti.com. For Aviation, which I also still run, which is anyhow, I have a lot of hats. Aviation.tv. That's aviation.tv.
Join the club for wearing a lot of hats. I think we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't want to wear a lot of hats. But,
Amen, brother.
I think all three of us wear many hats here.
Yes.
James, how can people get in touch with you and learn all the things that you do?
Oh, if you want to know the many hats I wear, again, Google me. You can find me on Twitter, AV_James King, board member for HEPMA. So anything that's going on with HEPMA, I'm Bob Whip, writer for the Higher Ed Digital Magazine. Again, Google me, you'll find me.
And for me, you can reach me on social media at Steve Greenblatt, my company at controlconcepts.net. And also, please check out State of Control, which is a great companion podcast to this one, and it's on Aviation, and that can be found at aviation.tv, where we talk about basically roundtable discussion, similar topics about things that pertain to programmers. So please check that out. For this podcast, we can be found on YouTube and Apple and Google Podcasts, and we welcome all your feedback. Please share an episode. Please tell us what you like, and also let us know if you want to be part of the show. So looking forward to hearing from you, and want to continue this into year 3. And thank you for being with us for these past 2 years. And with that, this has been Ask the Programmer.